Today we are working on section 3.1 and 3.2. 3.1 is solving one-step equations. When we're solving one-step equations, we must use the inverse operation. You can say it's the opposite operation in order to get the variable alone. Inverse operations undo each other. If you have addition, then you must subtract to undo the addition. If there's subtraction, you're going to add. If there is multiplication, you're going to divide. And if there is division, you're going to multiply. These operations on the right here, addition and subtraction, are inverse operations of each other. Multiplication and division are inverse operations of each other. They undo the other operation. So we're going to go through and solve some one-step equations. When you are solving a one-step equation, look at what is being done to the variable. This one has x plus 7 equals 4. Since 7's being added, the inverse operation of addition is subtraction. So we want to subtract 7 on both sides of the equal sign. And that means that these two numbers will cancel each other out, and we're left with plain old x on the left side. And on the right-hand side, we get a -3. X equals -3 is going to be our answer. You can check yourself to make sure that that works. You can substitute that -3 in for x. And -3 plus 7 does give you 4. 4 equals 4. True statement. You can check if you want to. I am not going to require that you do so. Second example, x minus 12 equals 3. We're subtracting 12. The inverse operation would be addition. So that means we want to add 12 to both sides. Do you have to put an addition sign? No. You could just put down the 12. And that will give us x equals a positive 15. That would be your answer. Put a box around your answer. That'll help me find it, please. The third example has multiplication. And since we're multiplying by a -6, let's divide by a -6 on both sides, the inverse operation. -6 divided by -6 is a positive 1 times x. Positive 1 times x is really just x. So I really don't need this step. Know that that's why it is just plain old x. And 48 divided by -6 is -8. So we have x equals a -8 as our final answer. Problem number 4 has division. Inverse operation of division is multiplication. And since we're dividing by a -3, that means that we're going to multiply by a -3 on both sides. Notice how I wrote it in the numerator. That is so. These two -3's will cancel each other out. That gives -3 divided by -3 is 1. So we're left with x. And then -3 times 9 is a -27. That'll give us our answer of -27 for x. When you're working with a fraction and its multiplication, we will need to multiply by the reciprocal of that number on both sides. Remember that the reciprocal times a number is going to give you a positive 1 in the end. So that's where those two fractions will cancel out, and we will have x on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, think of this as 4 over 1 if you need to, and that way you can either say 4 times -7 is -28 all over 2, and thus x equals a -14. Or if you want, that 4 times -7 over 2, you can think of this 2 canceling with the 4, and that you would have a 2 in the numerator, and 2 times -7 automatically is the -14. Either way is correct, your choice as to what you want to do. Number 6 has another fraction. This one's positive, so we're still going to use the reciprocal on both sides and a positive reciprocal. The two fractions on the left will cancel each other out. We will get x. Let's do our little bit of canceling here where the 5 cancels into 10 2 times, and that will give us 2 times 6 being 12, and a box around our answer. To get rid of fractions, we multiply both sides by the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 2/5 is 5/2. Just turn the fraction upside down. I can write and solve a one-step equation. We have the area of a rectangle that is 24 square inches. We need to write an equation that's going to model the situation. We can see that we have x for a length and 4 inches for a width. We know that the area of a rectangle is the length times the width, or if you want, area is the base times the height. Both are the same idea. And so we are going to write the area here is 24. And if we have our length and our width being x and 4, that means that we have to substitute into our equation. So we're going to say 24 equals the length times the width. So we have all of our information. We know what formula we're using. We know that the total is 24 inches squared. And so we'll set 24 equal to 4x. Now we have to find the value of what x is. So we will divide by 4 on both sides, inverse operation, and x will be equal to 6. And in this case, that would be 6 inches because there's no label over on the problem at all. Area and perimeter equations here. Perimeter of a triangle is just adding all 3 sides together, a plus b plus c. Area of a triangle, area equals 1/2 the base times the height. When we start looking at the area and perimeter of a rectangle, the area of a rectangle is pretty easy here. Area equals base times height, or if you want, area equals length times width. Both are appropriate. Another way to look at the perimeter of a rectangle is just to add all the sides together, a plus b plus b. That's like saying perimeter equals 2 times a plus 2 times b. And some places you will see it as perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. All good things to remember. Moving on to section 3.2, we're going to solve two-step equations. You first have to combine your like terms. And then you need to use your inverse operations in order to get the variables alone. Let's start out solving some two-step equations with number 1, 5x plus 9 equals 3. If I knew what x was, I'd multiply by 5 and I would add 9. I need to go backwards through that order of operations. So I said adding 9 was the last thing I would do. It's the first thing I want to undo. So I need to subtract 9 on both sides and have 5x equals a -6. Now I can use inverse operations on this one-step equation and have x equals a -6/5. I will take that improper fraction If you want to write it as a -1 1/5, that's fine. A -1.2 is also fine. If it were a repeating decimal, I would not want a repeating decimal. Just leave it as -6/5. That makes it the easiest. Let's look at number 2. X divided by 2 plus 5 equal 11. If I knew what x was, I would divide by 2, and then I would add 5. So that means that I'm going to subtract the 5 first and be left with x divided by 2 equals 6. As we undo the division, that means we're going to multiply, and x is going to be equal to a positive 12. Number 3, combine your like terms first if you can. 7x and -4x can be combined together to give you a positive 3x equal to 21. We undo our operations, so we're going to divide by 3 on both sides, and x will be equal to 7. (4x minus 4 equals 16). If I knew what x was, I'd multiply by 4 and then I'd subtract 4. So that means I need to get rid of that subtracting 4 first by adding 4. So that gives me 4x equals 20. Now we can do our inverse operation and divide by 4 on both sides and have x equal to 5. On this problem, x is on the right-hand side, and you can work with this even though that it's written on the opposite side. If I knew what x was, I'd divide by 3 and I'd subtract 7. So that means I want to get rid of the subtracting 7 first. I'm going to add 7 to both sides. That'll give me 6 equal to x over 3. It's division, so I want to use multiplication in order to undo that operation, and I will have 18 equals x. No problem to have the x on the right-hand side. We have another problem where x's are all on the right side. Hey, look at that. Both of them are like terms. 5x minus 9x. Combine those like terms. We have -4x. Now we can divide by -4 on both sides, and we end up with 4 equal to x. Looking at some story problems, I can write and solve a two-step equation. A dance academy charges $24 per class and a registration fee of $15. A student paid a total of $687. Write an equation to model the situation. As we look at this, we see $24 per class, the registration fee of $15, and the total of $687. So when we're looking at this, we want to think, okay, I have my total that I have to get to, and that's equal to a fee that I have to pay plus however many classes I'm going to take times $24 for every class. This would be the number of classes here. $24 times that number of classes. So as we write this, our total is $687 equals 15 plus 24 times x. We can find the number of classes a student took by solving this problem. So I'm going to rewrite down here so I can work on it easily. 15 plus 24x. We want to subtract 15 on both sides. When we subtract 15 on both sides, we end up with 672 equal to 24x. And then we're going to divide by 24. I'd pick up my calculator if I were you. And we're going to find out that x is 28 classes. Don't forget your labels. The label will be worth a point on your test. The answer itself is worth a point, but the label will be worth a point as well, because we want to find the number of classes the student took. One more story problem. Life is not complete without a story problem. You bought shoes online, you bought 4 pairs of shoes, and you paid a shipping fee. So 4 pairs, shipping fee of $9. Oh, and you spent $213. So again, let's look at that total that you spent equal to the shipping fee that you were charged plus the number of pairs of shoes you bought times the cost of each shoe, or I should say each pair, right? So we have a total of $213. Our fee is $9, plus we bought 4 pairs times however much they cost. So let's go ahead and solve this. 213 equals 9 plus 4x. We're going to subtract 9 on both sides. When we subtract 9, that gives us 204 equals 4x. We'll divide by 4 on both sides and find out that x is equal to 51. And what's our label on this? Dollars. Each set of shoes costs $51. If you have questions, please make sure that you come in and ask. Good luck on your homework.